Hello class, Mrs. Lacefield here. This week we are going to talk about text and graphic features when we're reading a story. Now first let's go over what text and graphic features are, okay? So I'm going to make a little chart and you're going to want to pay attention because you are going to fill out a chart like this, okay? Text features just mean features that have words with them, okay? So, excuse me, sorry. That would be things like the title, and I'm going to leave a little space here, the title page, subtitles. I'm going to give myself a little more room for subtitles. It could also mean captions. I'm going to put captions slash blurbs because sometimes people will call them blurbs. They're just the little parts that give you some fun facts. Okay, and then also there will be the glossary and the index. Glossary slash index. Okay, we're going to look at each of those. Okay, I'm going to show you these in this story, but first let's talk about what graphic features are. Okay, so graphic features are a little bit different than text features. Okay, graphic features are things that you see that can be like drawn or pictures or something like that. I'm just going to put seen on there. So there are things that you can, I'll put see. That makes more sense. There are things that you can see. Okay. Now, the reason why we talk about text and graphic features is because they help us understand what we're reading. Okay. A lot of nonfiction text, which would be like the National Geographic books or Ripley's Believe It or Not, um, animal books, stuff like that. They have a lot of pictures, a lot of captions, lots of diagrams, those different things to help you understand it, okay? So for graphic features, this is what you're looking at, okay? You're going to look at pictures, so that could be photos. You're going to look at illustrations, which would be drawings, illustrations. You're going to look at charts, okay? Charts a lot of times will have pictures in them, but there will be kind of like a flow to it. I'll show you that. There could be diagrams, which are very similar to charts, and maps. Okay? So, that's what you're going to be looking for. When we look at text features, remember, they're just going to have the words. So it's things that we're reading, but they're things that we're reading that are not just the main text. Okay? Um, They're things that also could be bolded, highlighted, things like that. I didn't write that down there, but I'll point that out. Okay, graphic features are not things that you read to understand. They're things that you look at to understand. All right, so as we read through the story, I'm going to go over what the text features are, the graphic features, and then I'll show you how you would fill out this chart because you'll need to do it a little bit later, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to read the story. This story is about snakes, and this week we're going to read a couple of different things about snakes, okay? So this story is called Life Cycle of a Snake. It's by Karen Lachana Kenny, and we're looking right now at the title page, okay? So right here, if you look at where I'm pointing, this is the very front cover of the book, right? It tells us the title, shows us a picture. So the title would be a text feature, the picture would be a graphic feature. Okay, and then right here we have the table of contents. So table of contents, it's just used to let us know which page talks about certain things. So for instance, on page 4, there's a chapter 1, that's called Tearing Free. Okay, so you can see Tearing Free is the name of that chapter. So we could look at that title of the chapter and we could say, okay, let's see. What do I think that means? Right? And it's going to give us a clue as to what the main idea of that whole thing is. Okay, chapter 2 is called Hunting. That starts on page 10. Chapter 3 is called Shedding and Mating. That starts on page 16. And then at the end, we have activities and tools. So we have something called Try This. We've got a glossary, we've got an index, and we've got a page that we go to if we want to learn more. All right, so let's go through the book. I'm going to point out some things. Chapter 1. Okay, before we even read this, I want you to look at different things. We've got the chapter heading, right? Chapter 1. We've got the name of it, Tearing Free. And sometimes these will be broken down into smaller sections as well. You've seen that in the classroom when we've read certain things. Those are called subtitles. Okay? They just break down to smaller section. They'll say, okay, the whole thing's about tearing free, but this section specifically about this. This section is specifically about this. And it lets us know what they're about. Okay? Right here, we've got this picture of this cute, cute little snake baby coming out of the egg, right? And we've got this little caption. A caption is just writing about a specific picture. A lot of times, when we've got those captions, they'll be in a different color, they'll be in a circle, sometimes they look like they're in a little cloud, something like that that sets them apart from the main text, okay? Main text is this part here and this part here in the green. So this says egg tooth. And we can see that it's pointing to this little tiny little pokey thing out of the front of the snake's nose, more towards its mouth. Okay, so those are the text features on this page. The graphic features would be the pictures. So this picture of the little snake baby coming out of the egg, this picture of the little snake baby, that is almost all the way out of this egg. Okay, so let's read through the story. It says, Rip, rip, a small soft snake egg rips open. Out pokes a tiny head. A sharp egg tooth helps the snakelet tear free. Ooh, I see another text feature that I didn't notice before. Can you see how the words egg, tooth, and snakelet are a little bit bolder is what we would call it. So the letters look like that they're thicker and there's more white on them. If it was with black writing, it'd be more black, right? Those are called bolded words. Bolded words usually give us a clue. And that clue is this word is important and it's probably one that's going to be in the glossary. Remember, the glossary is the part at the end of a nonfiction story that's kind of like a dictionary, right? It tells us what certain words mean, important words in the story. So I'm going to be looking for these things like egg, tooth, snakelet. Okay? The snakelet slowly slithers out. It uncurls its long body for the first time. This is just one step in the snake's incredible life cycle. All right, so I want to look at this. Okay, I've got this so far, and I'm going to fill out what I have read so far. So first of all, title, and I would write down the title of the book. Okay, so I can go back here, look at the title of the book. So life cycle of a snake. Life cycle, you're going to have more room when you do this, of a snake. Okay, I'm going to skip the title page real quick. And since we don't have real subtitles, we're going to call the chapter headings subtitles in this, okay? So, subtitles, we've got Tearing Free as our first one. Tearing Free. All right? Captions. So far, captions, I've got Egg Tooth. It's showing me where the egg tooth is. Okay, I don't have the glossary index, but I have the bolded letters that let me know those will be in the glossary. Okay? Then over here, do I have pictures? Yes, I have pictures of the snakes hatching. Okay. Illustrations, which is just a drawing. Nope, no drawings on that. Charts. I don't see any kind of charts. I don't see any diagrams. I don't see any maps. So that's all we're going to fill out so far for this page. Okay? All we're doing this week is being able to identify them. Identify the text and the graphic features. Okay? Later on in your school career, you'll talk about what they mean and how they help you understand the text. And we will talk about that at the end. But right now, we're just identifying them. Okay, our next one. Ooh, you can see right here. Do you see how this looks a little bit different than the last one? It says, "Did you know?" And then I've got a nice little blurb right here and pictures of eggs. So we'll read that in just a moment. We also have a label right here of this snake, this python. Aw, this python mom looks so happy. Look, looks like she's smiling. She's proud of her little eggs. Okay, let's read what it says. Then we'll talk about the text and the graphic features on here again. It says, most snakes hatch from eggs. The mother finds a warm, dark, and damp spot. She then lays her eggs on the ground or in a nest. She leaves her clutch of eggs. They will hatch on their own. But other snakes stay to protect their eggs. Some warm their eggs too. Pythons curl around their eggs and they brood until the eggs hatch. Now, if I didn't know what these words meant, clutch, brood, I could go to the very back and I could look at the glossary. In fact, I'm going to flip over there real quick to show you. It'll take me just a second to get there. Oh, that was a little too far. Sorry, guys. This right here is the glossary, right? So the glossary, like I said, is kind of like a mini dictionary. So I could say, okay, I don't know what the word clutch means. So clutch, I will look it up here. Clutch, a group of eggs laid together. Okay, so a clutch is just all the eggs that are laid together. Okay, that makes sense, right? That makes sense in that sentence. And then brood. It says that the snakes brood. What does that even mean? Brood means to sit on eggs to make them hatch. Okay, so it's kind of like when a hen will sit on her eggs, right? She uses her feathers and everything. She sits on them, keep them warm. Some snakes do that too. So now I know what clutch and what brood means. So you can always go back to the glossary to look at it. All right, oops, too far again. Sorry, guys, about that. So there's her clutch of eggs, and she is brooding or wrapping around the eggs to keep them warm, right? So fun. Here's our little blurb. This is what it says. Did you know a corn snake lays 10 to 30 eggs in one clutch, but a Burmese python lays up to 100 in one clutch? Wow. So I think you guys have seen corn snakes before, right? Corn snakes, sometimes people will have them as pets. Usually they get to be, I think about, you can't see me, maybe about that long, you know, about that wide. They're not huge, huge, huge snakes, but a lot of times they're really colorful, and many times they're very, very nice snakes. That's why people keep them as pets, right? So they only have 10 to 30 eggs in one clutch, which to me still seems like that's kind of a lot. But when you look at a Burmese python, which could be like this python right here, they can lay up to 100 eggs. That is so many eggs. Can you imagine if a Burmese python was trying to brood or wrap around all 100 eggs? That is a lot of them. I wonder if maybe that's why sometimes eggs stay with their eggs, or sometimes when they leave them. Maybe they have too many, they can't protect all of them. I don't know. That's something we'd have to look more into, right? There's a lot of times when we're reading that we'll ask ourselves questions like that, and we'll have to go and do more research to learn more. But asking questions is always good, always good. It helps you understand things a little bit better. Okay, so let's look at our text and graphic features. Text features, we used our glossary actually, because we didn't know those words. So I'm going to write the word brood, the word clutch, right there. I'm sorry, it's kind of hard to see what I'm writing. That's okay. We also have the blurb about eggs. So I'm going to put egg facts because we talked about the eggs. I should have given myself more room for this stuff too, I guess. And then for pictures, I had the picture of the python with the eggs. So python with eggs. Python with the eggs. Okay, and this one I have a lot more pictures than illustrations. So I might have to give myself more room for that in a second. All right, so here, our next one, we've got a little, what is it called? A caption, right? It's telling what this is. This is a snakelet. Got this picture. This one looks like a viper to me. You can see its eyes like that. They have a very distinctive look. And then we've just got the text with a few more bolded words, right? So here's what it says on here. There are around 3,000 different kinds of snakes. Most of these reptiles lay eggs, but some give birth to live snakelets. The embryos grow in eggs, but the eggs hatch inside the mother. Then the snakelets emerge. Ooh, I know that most of you guys know what the word reptiles mean, right? We've talked about reptiles. They're a certain kind of animal, cold-blooded, they have scales, stuff like that. But the word embryos is something that we haven't really talked about. So embryos is something we could look up again. All right, so let's turn over to our, oopsie, sorry. I always go one too many. So let's go back here to embryos. It says animals in the earliest stage of their life cycle. Okay, so the earliest stage of their life cycle for snakes, that's when they are, I'm sorry, I'm looking where I'm turning. That's when they are still in the eggs, right? They're called embryos when they're still in the eggs. For animals like cats or dogs that don't lay eggs, that would just be when the babies are in the mom's stomach, right? Well, yeah, I'm not gonna get into that. So, yeah, that's when embryo is, right? Before they hatch or before they're born. They're called embryos when they're just grown, when they're little tiny babies. So, for that page, for the glossary of the index, we looked up the word embryos. Embryos. Okay. We had also the caption for snakelet. And we didn't have any subtitles there. That's all right. For the picture, I'm going to erase illustrations, move that down. Picture, we've got the snakelet. Here, I'm going to write illustrations down a little bit lower so you can see. That's still really, really important. We just haven't ran into any. I know you guys have seen illustrations before. Like drawings, when people are drawing like the life cycle of a snake or something like that. That's what illustrations would be. We just don't happen to have any in this book. Okay, so chapter 2, hunting. Okay, right here we've got our new subtitle. This lets us know that this next section is going to be all about how a snake hunts. So I'm going to write hunting. Okay, and then I've got my pictures. I've got a picture of a snake with its tongue flicking out. A picture of a snake, it looks like it's eating a little baby mouse. Sometimes those are called pinkies. So, I'm not going to write down that I've got those pictures, but you would if we were identifying these, okay? But let's read through this so we can get through this whole story, okay? So a snakelet can take care of itself right away. It flicks out its forked tongue. Why? It uses its tongue to smell the air. This hungry baby is searching for food. It slithers across the ground. What does it smell? Baby mice or frog eggs. Insects and earthworms make good meals too. Snakes are carnivores. This growing snakelet needs to eat so it can grow. So carnivores are animals that just eat meat. And you can see how it's bolded. We could look that up back in the glossary. Snakes become expert hunters, but not all snakes hunt the same way. For example, vipers and cobras have venom. It comes out of their sharp fangs. The fangs sink into prey, and the venom shoots into the animal. It paralyzes the male. And then we've got this little blurb. Did you know snake teeth are not designed to chew? So snakes swallow their prey whole. Their jaws can open wider than their bodies. That is so cool. You can see right here, this snake that is eating, it looks like some kind of a lizard, has its jaw open really, really wide so it can swallow it whole. So this one we're going to write down different things. All right, for our caption, we've got, how would I call this? Because it talks about how it eats their prey, it swallows whole. So I'm just going to put swallows whole. Swallows whole. I've got my picture of the snake eating the lizard. Okay, we've got a lot of pictures for our graphic features on this one. Yeah, so that's what I've got on that page. Okay, but boas and other snakes don't have venom. They strike prey with their fangs. Then they wrap their big, strong bodies around the animal. They constrict to kill. Then they swallow their meal. And here's another did you know? Green anacondas are some of the world's biggest snakes. They constrict their prey, which can also be very large. These snakes can swallow cows whole. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine how big a snake would have to expand its mouth to be able to swallow a cow whole? That is huge. That's so crazy. Right here, you could see this. I believe this is supposed to be an anaconda. It might be a boa or a python. I have a hard time telling the difference. But it's swallowing its prey. In fact, its prey looks like it's some other kind of reptile. Do you see how it's got the scales there? So right here, what I would write down is I've got a picture for my graphic feature, right? This helps us understand what it's talking about more because we've got the word constrict. Constrict, and if we look at this and we look at the way it was used in the word or in the text, we can see constrict kind of means like to crush, right? So it wraps around it and it crushes it. So that helps us understand what's going on. So I would write down the picture of the anaconda constricting its prey. I would write down that we've got this caption right here. We've got the bolded word constrict, which we could look up in the glossary. Okay. Now we've got chapter 3. Chapter 3, remember, right now these are chapters, but we're calling them subtitles because you're going to be looking at subtitles in a minute. So this one is called Shedding and Mating. Shedding and Mating. Okay. So we've got that there. We've got our pictures. Ooh, I really like this blue-green color of this snake. That's really, really pretty. This orange one's pretty too. Both of those together are really pretty. So we've got those pictures of those snakes. We've got the caption right here. This is the snake's skin. And so it's really cool. It almost looks like, those little bubbles that you get in boxes when people ship things to each other and you can pop them. It almost looks like that. But this is from the snake's scale. So you can see every individual scale. It's really cool. When my lizard Binks, when he sheds out, since he's a bearded dragon, we can see where the little spikes were on his face. It's so cool. All right, so let's read through this. Scales cover a snake's body like armor. They protect the baby snake, but to grow, the snake has to shed a layer of its skin. It rubs its head on a rock. This splits the skin. The skin rolls. Oh, sorry, not the skin. The snake. The snake rolls its old skin off in one long piece. As a snake sheds, it grows. In a few years, it will be an adult. So, I would talk about how it's got the pictures of the snake's shedding. It's got the caption. It's got that subtitle. Really cool. And something that would have been nice to see is if they'd had a chart on this page. My sister-in-law used to have big boa constrictors. I think the biggest one they had was almost 20 feet long. He was a monster. But they would also breed the boa constrictors so that there would be little babies. And something that they would do is they would keep the snake's sheds. So when the snake was a baby and it shedded, the snake shed was only about that long, and then it would get bigger and bigger and bigger each time. So something that I would like to see in this book, and that's something that's a really good thing to think about. What would you have put in this book to help people understand this a little bit better? I would have maybe put a chart with pictures of like first shed, second shed, third shed, or something like that. So you can see how the snake grows and how the snake sheds get bigger as the snake gets bigger. It's pretty fun to see. So that's something that I would have put in a chart. So a chart is kind of like a picture, but it's labeled and it tells either like a timeline or something like that. So that's what I would have put here. Okay. Adult snakes in different areas mate at different times. Snakes are cold-blooded. They depend on sunlight and warm temperatures to keep warm. Because of this, snakes in colder areas mate in early spring so that snakelets are born in warmer months. Snakes that live in tropical areas can mate year-round. Why? Because it's always warm. And then right here, this is the one that I wanted to show you. This is a diagram. Okay, a diagram a lot of times will have some kind of chart. Well, a chart's in it, I guess, but it will show the flow of different things, okay? So this shows a snake's life cycle. So how it grows from a little baby, like a little embryo, right? The little baby that's in an egg to become an adult. So this chart, I'm going to call this, let's see, I'm going to call it the life cycle of a snake. And actually, I'm going to put this under diagrams. So life cycle of a snake. Now, a lot of times people will call charts and diagrams kind of the same thing. They kind of go together because a lot of times you will have charts and diagrams and charts, stuff like that, okay? So, we've got the life cycle of a snake. And this just helps us understand how a snake grows. So, it starts out as an embryo, right? An embryo grows for a few months or more in its egg. and then it becomes a snakelet. Right? A snakelet's just a little baby newborn snake. So, snakelet grows for 2 to 5 years to become an adult. So, it's just a little baby snake for a while, right? 2 to 5 years. Then, after that, it's an adult. So, an adult snake never stops growing. So, they keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I actually did not know that. That's something new that I learned. That's pretty cool. And then from there, adult snakes make little babies, little embryos, right? So you've got this diagram right here that's showing the flow of how it's kind of like the circle of life, right? If you've ever seen The Lion King. Okay. Oh, right here, this is the female. Look how big the female is. Like just the width between her eyes is way bigger than that snake's whole body. So some male snakes fight to win a female. Others swarm. They all wrap themselves around the female. After she picks one and they mate, the eggs begin to form inside her body. Then the cycle begins again. Oh, that is a big, big snake. Okay, I believe that's the end of the book. Okay, so the very last part that we have here, okay, this is an activity that you could do. And if you would like, you can do this at home. You would need glue and your hands. So if you have white glue like Elmer's glue or something like that, you could definitely do this at home. So this is just kind of a fun activity, extra if you'd like to do it. So shedding skin, look at a snake's shed skin. You can see patterns. They show the snake's scales. Try this activity to shed some skin. What will you see? So obviously, people, we don't have scales, right? We have skin. But if you look at its skin, there's different patterns, different like wrinkles. Like if you look on my fingers, you can see where it bends with my knuckles, how it's got those I don't know what you would call them, the little lines on it. So let's see what it says. Spread a thin layer of white glue on the palm of your hand. This is like a layer of skin. Let it dry. Do not touch anything. Pretty sure your parents won't appreciate it if you go and you grab the handle to the fridge or something like that and you get glue all over it. Okay? Now, carefully peel off the layer of glue. Try to keep it all in one place, all in one piece, like a snake skin. Wash your hands well with soap after. Now look at the glue you peeled off. What patterns do you see? Do you see lines from your hand? Oh, you should see. Oh my goodness, I can't read. You should see lines from your hand. This has your hand's pattern, just like a snake skin keeps its pattern. So get permission from your parents, but that's a cool way to see how snake skin kind of works and how you can see that. Okay, we've got the glossary right here, which we talked about. Then at the very, very end, we haven't talked about this one yet. This is called the index. So an index lets you know what page certain topics are on. So let's say I was trying to learn more about pythons, right? So I would look here and I would say, okay, Python, Python, Python. I look all the way through here and oh, Python 6. It talks about pythons on page 6. So then I could turn all the way back to page 6 and I could look at what it says about pythons. Sometimes there will be pictures there too. Okay, if I need to learn more about snakelets, I would look on pages 4, 5, 9, 10, 11, 18, and 19. Talks a lot about snakelets in this book, right? So I could look at all those. So that's what an index does. It helps you see what page each thing is on. All right? Quick reminder, text features and graphic features are very important. They help us understand what we're reading. And you're going to want to remember that because you're going to answer a question about that. Okay, we've got all of these text features, which are the title page that just helps us see who wrote it, everything, subtitles, captions, glossary, and the index. We've got pictures for the graphic features, illustrations, which is just drawings, charts and diagrams, which we showed the life cycle of a snake, and then maps. We didn't have any maps in this book, but in a book that we read before, it showed you maps of where bull sharks live, right? So that is also a graphic feature. What you'll be doing is you're going to have two different articles about snakes that you're going to read through. Okay? So in each article, you're going to have a a Google slide. That's what I'm going to make it on. Sorry. A Google slide that is separated into two different parts. Text features, graphic features. I'm also going to write the different text features, right? Title, subtitles, those different things. you are going to identify which feature is what. So, for instance, if you're reading an article and let's say it's about rattlesnakes, and the first page, not first page, the first subtitle says the desert, right? And it talks about how they live in the desert. You're going to write the subtitle is the desert. I need you to identify each of those. Okay? So that's what you're going to be doing. Please make sure you message me if you have any questions. I'm really excited for you guys to learn about snakes. They're amazing animals. I'll talk to you later.